Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacqueline Nicole, and in today's video, we are going to be taking an esoteric look at the film Pinocchio. We are going to be discovering how there's actually two characters in one of the main characters.
Wish upon a star makes no difference.
The movie Pinocchio was released in the 1940s by the Walt Disney Production Company. It was one of the first animated full-length feature films done by Walt, and to this day it remains one of the hallmarks of his animated canon. The film Pinocchio revolves around a puppet who goes through an adventure on his way to becoming what is deemed a real boy.
Prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and someday you will be a real boy.
A real boy! I'm a real boy!
So within the first act of Pinocchio, basically when they're in Geppetto's house, we come into a few of the main characters. We learn about Pinocchio, we learn about Geppetto, and we learn about Jiminy Cricket. These three are always intertwined throughout the duration of the film. Now, specifically, I would like to take a look at Geppetto, the different characteristics within Geppetto, and the different traits within Geppetto. This is the two different characters within one, I guess we'll call it. Now, Geppetto is the maker of Pinocchio, no matter how we look at it. But what is interesting is that Geppetto actually has two different personalities depending on the way he is dressed. It is through how he appears that we can determine which Geppetto is which. And by looking at the way he's dressed, we can actually start to analyze the environment around him. And it tells us what kind of atmosphere is being created. One of the first nods that Disney gives to this occurrence is actually when Jiminy Cricket, he's entered the house and now he's up on the toy shelves and he's observing what's going on within the house. Jiminy Cricket is sitting next to a white kingly head, but behind Jiminy Cricket is almost like a red oval. Now, this red and white dichotomy is actually kind of the basis of how we're going to differentiate Geppetto. There is the bareheaded Geppetto, which is Geppetto in his day clothes, and he is, we'll say, the carpenter or the toy maker. And then there's red cap Geppetto, which is when Geppetto is in his nightgown and he is obviously wearing a red cap. These two fathers actually have a completely different presence within the house. So one of the first things we're going to look at is, in esoteric terms, we need to look at the inner traits and the inner messaging. That's why esotericism is always about like metaphors and allegories, which makes Pinocchio and most of Walt's films perfect for this. So starting with Jiminy Cricket when he was up on the shelf, we have Jiminy Cricket with a red background, whereas we have the kingly with the white background. Now, Jiminy Cricket is in higher spirits when he's up on the shelf, and then he turns to the white kingly figure and he says,
Very good. Very, very good. Well, you can't please everybody.
This is a perfect illustration of the two differences between both Geppettos. We have the bareheaded Geppetto and the red cap Geppetto. Now, underneath the bareheaded Geppetto, the house is very unharmonious. And Geppetto, or bareheaded Geppetto, does not include other people within his makings. So, for example, when Geppetto is determining the name of Pinocchio, he literally asks everybody what they think, and then he decides against it. He even, in a way, tells Pinocchio what to say.
Now I have just the name for you. Pinocchio. Do you like it, Figaro? No? You do, don't you, Cleo? Do you like it? That settles it.
This is obviously not including others, and this is not you're not melding with the environment that you have. Now, another thing to notice under bareheaded Geppetto is that Jiminy Cricket is actually seen as pretty poor. He's dressed like a hobo, and it kind of nods to having a deficient conscience. As we know, Jiminy Cricket is the conscience that helps guide Pinocchio through most of his journeys, but when he is with Geppetto, he doesn't really have a voice, and he only has one music box, and that music box itself
Pick it up, will you? lot of downbeats in there.
So the tune that is being played under bareheaded Geppetto's watch isn't harmonious with a good conscience. You'll also notice that when bareheaded Geppetto is playing with Pinocchio, he's more in a linear fashion. And although Pinocchio is a puppet, we see the metaphor of Geppetto pulling Pinocchio's strings. Pinocchio is not freely doing what he wants. And more importantly, Figaro, who cat represents vision, is far behind. All of this points to how, under bareheaded Geppetto, the things around him are having a hard time and that it is unharmonious. Now, as I mentioned, we are deciphering between bareheaded Geppetto and red-capped Geppetto, the daytime Geppetto and the nighttime Geppetto. Now, in esoteric terms, the day was always seen as the very masculine embodiment, same with the sun. The sun is very masculine, and the darkness, the night, and the moon were very feminine elements. If you notice that under bareheaded Geppetto, there is very little feminine presence. But yet, when we get into slumber, when we get into sleep, and when we get into darkness, it's the blue fairy who basically starts off the red-capped Geppetto sequence. This implies that femininity is included. It doesn't mean it's just feminine, but it is both the fairy that helps animate Pinocchio, whereas Geppetto is what made Pinocchio. They both have a hand in it, we'll say. One of the biggest differences under red-capped Geppetto is that Geppetto actually listens to Pinocchio. He allows Pinocchio to have a voice, which is in direct contrast to when Jiminy Cricket doesn't have a voice under bareheaded Geppetto.
You do talk.
Yes, the blue fairy came.
The blue fairy?
Uh-huh. And I got a conch.
You'll also notice that when he is playing with Pinocchio, it's a circular celebration. And he's not in control of what Pinocchio is doing. And in fact, he goes around to the whole entire house and he gets everyone involved and he encourages everyone to. He also plays with multiple music boxes. He encourages Pinocchio to have his own music box, and even Figaro has his own music box. The thing about the red-capped Geppetto is that Pinocchio has a voice and he has his own way in life. He's not under control of someone else. This is what's directly expressed when the blue fairy says,
To make Geppetto's wish come true will be entirely up to you.
You get to make the decisions. It is your choice in what you do, when to start, when to give up, what to say, and so on and so forth. The other thing that I would like to highlight is how the bareheaded Geppetto and the red-capped Geppetto have an influence throughout the movie and how their personalities shape the rest of the movie. The bareheaded Geppetto is very much about groupthink. It's actually the bareheaded Geppetto that sends Pinocchio off to school or off to the Honest John system.
Run along now. Oh, wait. School is not for you.
Whereas the red-capped Geppetto is the one who goes out looking for him when Pinocchio is missing. It's very odd that Geppetto would wear his nightcap out around town. But this is just Walt Disney signifying that your calling, your consciousness is out there looking for you. Now, one of the other things that I would like to wrap this up by saying is that we notice the contrast between the red-capped Geppetto and the bareheaded Geppetto, the red and the white. And in esoteric terms, red always signified courage and passion and empowerment. And in order for Pinocchio to get through a lot of his journey, he has to have the courage to face hard times. Whereas traditionally we see white as purity and innocence, it can also represent perfectionism or impossible standards, to be godlike, should we say. This is what's coming across with white or the bareheaded Geppetto compared to the red-capped Geppetto. Either way, the first act of this movie, Geppetto's House, sets us up for two underlying themes that we always have to look for. We have to look for the right hand and the left hand path, which I will link to a card above my head. And it shows us very much how these two different things, being in the here and now, being grateful for what you have and being able to do what you can, releases you from somebody else's way in life. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this helped reveal how on Pinocchio's path to becoming a real boy, he had to find his own conscience.